Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to talk about the one mistake that I've been noticing on my sales calls reviews for my clients. Now, I'm going to go over that mistake and how to avoid it on your sales calls in the future. If you guys don't know me, my name's Elaine Dang. I have been in sales for over 13 years now. My background is mainly in mortgage. However, I do online sales coaching now for fitness coaches because I used to be one of their prospects. But anyway, without further ado, let's talk about that one mistake that you should avoid, that you need to avoid when you're on a sales call. And that is to not be a therapist. A lot of people that get into sales, and a lot of fitness coaches that I've been helping with sales, they fall into this trap of using sales techniques that they've probably watched on Google and heard from other people, where you need to listen more. And although that might be the right advice, you have to listen to understand. A lot of people listen to respond or just listen, right? And they never ask a question. They just let this person they just let this prospect ramble on for 20 or 30 minutes about their life. Okay? And I always say that if you let this person ramble on, they're going to take you down their rabbit hole of whatever past trauma they have, whatever current traumas they have, and it takes away from being the actual business, right? So what you want to do is you don't want to be a therapist. You want to be the authoritative figure. You want to be the leader on this sales call. They've jumped on this call with you for a reason, right? And that reason is for you to lead them to the promised land. And you can't do that if they're the ones leading you to their rabbit hole away from the promised land that you're supposed to offer them and promise them, basically. So how do we avoid this, right? If you're in the discovery phase of your call, or it's early on, and so you ask that question of, hey, Elaine, it's so nice for us to connect. I'm glad we're able to talk here. Tell me, what are we looking to accomplish on this call here? And then they just go off, right? But the thing is this. Think about the way you talk to your friends. Think about the way you talk to just people in real life, right? Family members as well. There are some times when you're talking to somebody, yes, you want to be a good listener. You want to make sure that you don't interrupt somebody. But there are certain times when a prospect says something that you should interject in, that you should jump into and dive deeper in, right? If they're talking about why maybe they don't like going to the gym, or why they're having issues with staying on top of their nutrition, and you just go, okay, I got you. Yeah, nutrition's tough, right? Cooking's tough. Yeah, not a lot of people like the gym. You're just agreeing with them at that point, right? And you're not really, you're just hearing pain points, but you're not really getting down to the reason as to why. So, let's stay on that example. If they do happen to say, you know what, I don't like going to the gym. I go there, I know it makes me feel good, but I don't like to. You can just cut them off right there and say, hey, why don't you like going to the gym? Did you have a bad experience before? You still go now, but you don't like going? Why is that? And then let them talk about that, right? When you become a therapist and you sit back and you just listen and listen and listen, and then your only response after they've talked for a good 10, 15 minutes is, well, how does that make you feel? Well, you obviously know how it makes them feel. It makes them feel like shit, right? It makes them feel not good about themselves. That's why they're on the call with you. So the idea is not to be a therapist. You're not there. You're not getting paid to listen to them, right? You want them to pay you so that you can tell them what to do, not to just question how they're feeling or how they're going to feel if they don't move forward with you. Does that make sense? So do not be a therapist. Be the leader, be the expert, and dive into their questions. Don't worry about, interrupting them. If it's for a good cause, if it's for a good case, right? If they say something that piques your interest, if they say something that you believe you should interject in, then do so, right? Do it politely, do it in a way where you're not, where it just doesn't come out of the blue, but it's, where if they say something like, I do have a hard time getting my nutrition down. It's really tough for me to do so. Okay, hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt here. Um, I just noticed what you just said there, and I kind of want to dive into that there. What what is it that is so difficult with nutrition? And then you let them dive into that a little bit more and just go over it with them, right? And that's where the real pain problems, the pain points come from. And then you can, in your mind, know if your program is going to be able to fix that, or you move on to the next pain point because maybe you go, okay, that might not be in my wheelhouse. I can have somebody else look into that on my team. But let's talk about other things that might be an issue for you as well and see if we can also solve those problems, right? But the idea is to continue to dive into them. The idea is to continue to not just sit back and let them talk, because that's what a lot of people like to do in their real life. What they do is they'll vent to a friend, to a family member, and most of the time what will happen is when they're venting to a friend or a family member, that friend or family member is just going to go, uh-huh, oh wow, well why aren't you doing this? Well, why don't you do that? They just interject with, things that they think that they would do, or try to solve their problem right off the bat. But when it comes down to it, a lot of the times they don't say anything. They're just agreeable, right? So when you come out as the authoritative figure and you show them that you're actually listening, not just to respond, but to understand where they're coming from, you are becoming much more than a therapist. You are becoming the person that is supposed to lead them, the person that is the expert in getting them to their transformation. Does that make sense? You don't want to be that person that just sits back and just lets them vent and you don't figure out their problems. Or worse, you're just also being their friend or family member that just shouts out solutions, and then you fix their problem on the call and they don't decide to move forward with you in that aspect as well. So the idea is to have a little give and take, right? But the more you can find out the actual issues that they're having and diving deeper than where they're currently at, the more they're going to want to move forward with you, because they're going to see that, not only is their issue not being able to solve or figure out where they're currently at, they're going to realize whatever they're doing right now is not going to get them to where they need to be, right? That there's going to be such a huge gap between where they currently are to where they need to be, that you're the only person that can take them there. But you can't do that if you sit back and you let them vent for however long, and then you chime in after 20 minutes and say, well, tell me more about that. Can you elaborate about that? And then they've already talked about 3 or 4 different pain points. Now you forgot and they forgot, and you're just going to lose them, right? You have to have a conversational, you have to have a really good dialogue throughout the entire process, right? There should be questions that, quite frankly, are being asked in the middle of them venting so that they don't completely derail the conversation and take you out of moving your business forward. When you're on a sales call, being on a sales call is all about one thing: closing that deal. And you cannot close that deal if all you're doing is just sitting back and letting them take the lead, right? The goal for them to jump on this call is for them to find out if they can work with you and if you can close them, right? But you can't do that if you're being a therapist. So the idea here is this, guys: don't sit back, don't be a therapist, take the lead, be the authority figure, and ask questions below the surface of what they're actually saying. If they're saying, hey, I don't have time, well, why don't you have time? Well, I don't like going to the gym. Well, why don't you like going to the gym? I don't think that I can do this. Well, why can't you do this? Why haven't you been able to do this? right? Don't be afraid to ask that why question. That's the whole point of them jumping on a sales call with you, okay? And at the end of the day, if you're curious enough to be genuinely, if you're curious enough to genuinely want to help others and help these prospects actually get to the best shape of their life, and to get them to believe that they can do it after failing for so long and after not being able to do it on their own, then that's also going to come across as being genuine and thoughtful and caring and supportive of where they want to be, that they want to work with somebody like that, right? Good energy, supportive, helpful, knowledgeable, but also leader. Think about that the next time in your sales calls. Be the leader that they expect you to be, that they see in your content, that they see in your reels, and just for them to follow you at all, be that person for them, and then they're just going to follow you and close a sale with you. All right, guys. So drop that like, drop that subscribe. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions that I can help answer. Give me a follow on Instagram as well. I'll see you guys in the next video.